Welcome, everybody, and happy Monday. Happy November. I'm Carrie Fonte with Reuzel Education. Today, I am filling in for the spectacular Nicholas Giberson. Nicholas is in Mexico. He's getting married this week, so be sure to blow up his social media page and give him a heartfelt congratulations. It's a pleasure to step back in. It's been a while, and especially with Katy Dickson being our Scumbassador today. If you've not seen Katy, she does an amazing job, detailed, technical, terrific at answering your questions. So don't be shy. Type any comments or thoughts you have in the comment section. I'll interrupt Katy. We'll get you what you need. And with that, I'll stop talking. Katy, it's all yours. Take it away.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm going to be doing a little bit different than some of the previous haircuts I had been doing that I feel like I do for a lot of the classes. I'm going to be doing an undercut today. So I'm going to still be using our baseline theory and our partings on top, but I'm going to be doing it in a disconnected way and adding a fade on the bottom. So I'm just going to do what I always do is start combing the hair, checking the partings and the shape of the head, and then spraying it down with water so I can start getting it sectioned away. Especially with undercuts, I like to make sure that the lines are good because a lot of times clients with undercuts will cut their own undercut and then the line will start to get muddied or it'll start to go too high, or you'll have these sort of like some hairs are longer, some hairs are shorter. So I really like to just go in, especially when it's been a while, like it has been for this client right here. You just want to make sure that you're giving them a nice sharp line with that undercut. Even if you're not going to see the line, like let's say they wear the undercut kind of like pushed forward with the big texture that's really popular right now, like a curly crop that sort of goes into a floppy undercut. That's really popular right now, but you still want to make sure those lines and those sections on the side are nice and tight and are really sharp. So I'm just going in, I'm sectioning off the top. And the nice thing about having the hair all wet, all moistened down, is that I'm able to control the hair much better, both when I'm going to start my clipper over combing and for when I'm sectioning and trying to create really sharp lines. Now, if he had curly hair, what I really love to do is using the red. I'll actually go in and take little bits by bits and use the red pomade to actually create a really strong section. I find, especially when you have, his hair is straight, so I'm able to create a section easily. But when you have wavy, curly, coarse hair types, you really want to get something that's going to grab it. I know there's some Velcro strips out there too, but I find the red pomade is really great for that. Kind of like how you would use it for braiding. You use a pomade for braiding. That's sort of what I use it for in those instances with undercuts or for sections. So I'm going to get started going in with my baseline. I'm always going to start the flattest point of the head right above the ear. And I just want to apologize, guys. We are on a tripod today, so you just let us know in the comments if there's any issue or if you're having a hard time seeing what I'm doing. Please just let us know, and I am my own camera person today. So I'm just going in and debulking the sides. Created my baseline on my dominant side first. I'm going to come in, do the exact same on the other side. Now when I'm going in and creating the baseline here, I'm not going to be using the baseline to trim into the top, which is really the beautiful thing about the baseline and the baseline technique, is that you are creating that square bridge between cutting the top and cutting the sides and keeping that elongated masculine shape. So what I'm doing with the baseline is I'm giving myself a place to stop for my fade, where I don't want to.
Okay, well, oh, you're back now, Katy. You were gone for a second. Oh, Katy, you're gone again. Can you see her? Can you guys let me know in the comments? Can you see Katy or not? Oh, and now it's me. Okay, I guess, hi, here I am. I guess we lost Katy completely. Hold on 1 second. I think she'll try to dial back in. She's really good at that. In the meantime, oh, here she comes. So hold on. And this is the joy of live TV. Hey, Katy, hold on. You were gone for a second. I popped on the screen. That's why I always do my hair and makeup, and it's the joy of live TV.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Wonderful.
Okay, I'll jump back out, Katy. You pick it back up. Here you go.
Still using the baseline as my guide for where I don't want to go into the fade. So I don't want to be taking the cut too high into the round of the head, even though it's still an undercut. So I'm just still using that to debulk on the sides, because I'm going to do my refining of the fade at the end of the cut. So I'm just going in, getting all this stuff off. Just creating that elongated shape on both sides, using that baseline, cutting down from that initial guide that I created at the baseline. So I'm going to be fading my client down today to about a half, because he still likes a little bit of a line, but then tapering his neckline down to skin. All right. And now I'm going to be going in, and have you tilt your head forward, and doing the exact same partings that I would do with the executive contour or with the Vanguard, to start connecting the crown, the corner, and the front to the sides. But I'm not going to be connecting them to the sides. I'm still going to be using that 6-section parting, but to create square layers throughout the top. So my first one is just a straight middle part down the middle, and then using the bone structure, I'm going to section off where the crown is, where the corner is, and where the front is. So I like to find where the whirl of the hair pattern back here in the crown is, and where the apex is, and create my parting just through there. So I give myself a little bit of space with the whirl. So this is all flat, and that will usually find itself right where the flat of the head is on the side. So I'm breaking up that crown, coming in, finding the corner so I can section off that front. So I'm creating that line right there. And that's off of where we start to see the head starting to tip downward, and also off of the corner, because we want to maintain length and weight through that corner, even if we're doing something like a longer cut that's not going to blend in or going to take off that corner. You still want to be mindful of the shape that you're creating through that corner, because it's a round head and we want to keep our lines horizontal and square. So my first cut, still going to be the section right above. And then Carrie, I'm having some audio issues, so I can't hear you if you're saying anything.
Katy, can you hear me now? Maybe not. Okay.
So I'm going to be cutting off about that much, and I'm still holding out 90 or horizontal, parallel to the ground from the baseline, because we're still working with that head shape. So I'm going to take off about what I think needs to go and then drop the section and check. So we still want it to be a little bit above the ears when my client and I spoke about the haircut prior. So I let it drop and I see, okay, I still need to take a little bit more off. All right, we're right there at the top of the ear now. And then I'm just going to work up the sections horizontal to the one before it and slightly over directing down. So my first section is still the one that is being held at that horizontal to the ground, but then I'm pulling those sections going above it to it. And now he wears his undercut always to the right, but I'm going to cut this balanced so I can get a balanced shape throughout the top rather than having an overly heavy shape through just one side, which has its purpose, but that's how he would like his hair to be cut, so he can throw it around and have a lot of layers rather than having a lot of length. Because when we leave this side, the side that he would be parting away from, we leave that long, that gives weight and that has a look and that has a purpose, but we want it to be weightless, so we're also creating a balanced equal shape on this side. So I'm just working through. So it's raining here in LA today, and I swear something about the rain in this town, everything just starts to go wrong. So I appreciate you guys being patient with the technical difficulties and also this being on a tripod. So now moving back into the crown section, and I'm going to find my baseline there, then marry the two sections, and still following the same way I'd be cutting a baseline, where my body position starts to actually go with the round of the head, but still keeping everything straight. It's still the same, even with it being an undercut. So David here really likes to blow dry his hair to get that maximum lift, and then likes to use dry products that he can let kind of build up in the hair so he can have kind of a couple days. Because that's the great thing about our clay spray and our clay matte pomade, is that it gives a really great gritty feeling and lift while not looking like there's a bunch of product in your hair, and it gives you that day two hair that so many people are looking for, because they want their hair to just look styled. They don't want it to look like it has been styled a whole bunch. At least that's a very popular look here in Los Angeles, is the no effort, effortless, perfectly tousled hair. So now I'm going into the front, and I'm doing a horizontal to the hairline section. And then I'm gonna be over directing so I can find my baseline, holding it out to 90. And we have a little bit of that length maintained. I want it just a little more balanced. So we have this line beginning to come. I'm just moving back, taking the same sectioning. Now I'm going to move on to the other side. Since I've combed out my partings, I'm going to find it again. So now I'm just doing the same thing on my non-dominant side. And this is where, especially checking for balance is so important, because his ears might be in slightly different places. So we really want to be measuring the hair. And that I do with my comb. And I'll show you that in just a second. So going right above the ear, so that's basically our baseline section. I'm using the comb flat to the head, holding it out horizontal to the ground, and then pulling the hair out horizontal to the ground, and finding exactly where that is on the comb, coming around to the other side, marking it with my thumb, and pulling out the same section of hair but on the other side. I can see I left this side a little longer. So now I can proceed using that as my guide, knowing that it is equal to the other side. So I'm going to be working off of a balanced shape. I'm not going to be checking for balance once I finish this side. I want to set myself up for success with having a balanced haircut the first time. I mean, you want to check for balance at the end of the haircut as well to make sure that you haven't done anything, made any mistakes, just sort of like a last, pulling everything out check, but setting yourself up so that you know you're creating a balanced shape is just going to save you time and also help hone in those skills of constantly quality checking yourself. And then you can be more consistent with your cutting, and with that consistency, you get consistency in your business and people coming back and people being consistently happy. So I'm all about consistency. I'm just working through. So I'm going to be using the clay spray, a little bit of the clay matte pomade, and our matte texture powder on David today, because I want to get a lot of lift and I want to get that really nice tousled dry texture. Make sure my sections are nice and clean. Just pulling it down. So I remember the last live I did, I got a question, how do you make sure that the fringe area is the same length on both sides? Especially because we're using two different hand positionings. So this, your fingers are pointing to the baseline, and on the other side, your fingers are pointing away. So the way that I ensure that I'm getting the same fringe length is checking for balance initially when coming over to my non-dominant side, but then also once I make this first cut, bringing the part that I over direct from the corner of the head. Doing the same thing on this side. Bringing the part I over direct, coming from this side, and then combing it all forward, and I see that I've created a point in the middle. So when I look at this front section all pulled down, I can see it all comes to a middle point in the center, which tells me that I've cut both evenly when I can see an even shape. So not only can I measure it with my comb, but I can also do a visual check of the balance. Because you'll be able to easily see if that was not balanced, our point would be over on this side of his face or on the other side, rather than the point coming right to the center of the nose. So now that we've gotten the sides done, I'm going to go in and pop in the layers through the center of the head. So I can see what's been cut in my front section. I can see what's been cut in my crown section when I hold up these two pieces. So we want to create a balanced shape rather than a pompadour, which you would create sort of a sloped shape with the longest in front, shortest in back. I'm going to be creating a totally flat shape with a little bit of length in the front because of the way that the head shape naturally goes down, but I want an essentially balanced shape going through his top layers because he wants a lot of lift throughout, not just lift up front. So using that front part as the guide, just making my way, creating a flat, keeping my body positioning flat and straight. I don't want to be pulling it towards me. I don't want to be pushing it away from me. I want it to be elevated perfectly up straight, my fingers horizontal. And that's how I can ensure a perfectly straight section. And then now that I've created that center guide, go and pull it up again. And we're basically fully flat with it just slightly longer in front. So now I can go through and connect the sides of the top to the center of the top. So I'm going to start right in front of the crown. And I have my guide from the side. Bring this closer. I have my guide from the side, my guide that I created in the center, and this point that I need to cut off. And that's how I'll make my way through the top sections. So I essentially have two guides in my finger for the first cut that I'm making. And then from that point on, I have three guides. I have the section I cut behind it, I have the center guide, and I have the side guide. So the more guides, the better. So I'm really able to make sure that I'm staying consistent. And that's what I really love about the way that we have our sectioning and then we have our technique for navigating the top, because you're really creating a very easy roadmap to get you through the haircuts smoothly and consistently. So you know exactly what you're cutting, you know exactly why you're making every single cut when you're building out that shape. Because I feel like that's a lot of people's questions that I get with shear work is, where do you begin? How do you begin? And then how do you just not get lost? And really the sectioning and being consistent with your sections gives you that roadmap and that step-by-step to execute the haircuts. So I'm just moving through. And I'm not going to texturize until he's dry, because I want to see how the hair is going to be moving and flowing with it styled. So I'm going to dry him up. I'm going to throw a little clay spray in. So I find with these tops of the clay spray, with this one, that same one with the spray, I just put it in my hands first because it sort of comes out a little viscous. So I'm able to just get it through my hands and then easily work it through the hair. And that's what I've kind of told my clients to do with their clay spray, is just sort of use it as a serum in your hand. I find for the mini ones though, which is this guy right here, this atomizer works really well, and you can just sort of spritz it into the hair.
Katie, can you hear me yet? Well, she must still be having technical
Now
difficulties.
I'm going to be using my trusted Denman brush. It is I guess that's the 9-row. I've used 7-row as well. I like the 9-row because I'm able to get a really good scoop and lift, which is how I blow dry. I know it seems a little crazy that the fade is not put in. No, this haircut is barely done except for the sort of the top and this section. But I am going to dry him up because now I'm going to go into my refinement stage. And that's where the bottom half of this head lives, is really in the refinement stage, and also the texturizing on top. So there we go. Working in sections starting from the back. Now usually if I was blow drying all of the head, I would be blow drying the bottom sections first, but these are already dry. They're so short that they didn't need to be blow dried. They dried on their own. So now I'm just working from the top of the head, and I'm starting in the back. And I'm starting with the crown, and I'm sort of crossing back and forth. And I'm making sure that I'm never putting dry hair on top of wet hair. So all the hair in front of me is wet, and all the hair that I'm looking at in the section, that will be dry. And then I'm going to use my brush to scoop a section back that I can easily work with my brush. And I'm going back and forth because I want to get some control through the crown. But then once I move on past this crown area, I'm going to start lifting and scooping each and every section. But I'm still blow drying this backward and against the way that we are going to wear it. So I am still getting lift back here. And the clay spray helps give that nice memory, but also that texture that's already being built in. So we're already getting nice lift, but we're still just in the blow dry phase. So now is where I'm going to be doing my scooping. So I'm going to take the same section, push it forward, and then I'm going to be pushing with my brush and scooping backward to create a nice bevel. And I'm just slowly smoothing that hair and giving it that nice bevel. I'm actually blow drying it forward to then give it more lift when it goes backwards. So I'm pushing this hair forward, but then my brush is facing back at me, facing back up at this gap. So it's a literal swoop, and I'm still pushing forward. But I'm beveling the hair backward because I know I'm going to get that really big lift when it goes back. And now I'm getting up to the front. Blow drying everything back. And then going in. Doing that same bevel. And we're getting really big volume. We already have so much lift just from our blow dry technique and a little bit of that clay spray. So now I'm going to move on with my refinement. I'm going to start with my clipper refinement and then move on to my shear refinement using my blending shears. I am going to just clip this out of my way because it's a little long. But we want to use, I'm using the plastic alligator clips just so I'm not putting a really big crease into the blow dry that I just did. So I'm going to start. So I'm going to go ahead and start scooping out. I'm keeping everything at sort of this angle because I just want to be able to make a really soft shape, a soft scoop, to make it easier for me to blend out later. Rather than creating a really sharp, hard line of a guideline in this fade, I'm creating a really soft scoop. And now I'm using my wall clipper comb. And this is equal to a 1.5 guard. So I'm just going in and taking all this down, making sure to never cut into that baseline that I cut into, that I cut in initially. So we're always cutting below that. I'm going to go in and blend that out. I'm going to put it in on the other side as well. Nice thing about this side, I don't have to really clip it up because this is the side we're going to be parting it to anyway. So just like I did on the other side, just soft scoops. And then this is about a mid fade at the Babyliss full open, which I find is similar to a wall half guard. I wouldn't consider this necessarily a skin fade, but it's more of a fade than a one fade would be. The way I sort of market this to people is if I have guys that ask for one fades, I'll sometimes tell them, well, this is a metal one, really it's a half, and they get a little more contrast out of their fade. And it's not a huge difference of like a skin fade where they're bald at the bottom. So that's how I'll usually try to sell it. And a lot of my guys that started off as one fades have now gone down to half fades, just because you do get a little bit of that better contrast, which I think is the whole reason why you would be getting a fade to begin with, is you want that contrast and you don't want it to grow out as fast and you want to keep it tight up against the head. So it just seems, I try to get my one fade clients to switch over to something with a little more definition and contrast. So I'm just working my way up, starting to blend out that line that I created. Now we're working our way up to the baseline. Perfect. And now at this point, I could go in with a smaller comb and keep doing the same sort of clipper over combing and create the fade that way. This comb from YS Park is close to a half guard, so I could start blending out the line that way. But just for sake of time, I am going to pop on my 1 guard and start to blend this out. Just for the sake of time. I think it's really important as barbers to know how to do a fade without using any of your guards. Because I know when I was coming up into the industry, if somebody said I could do a fade with no guards, I would be like, oh, you're lying. So, but it really teaches you to be in tune with the length of your combs and your tools and what all these different techniques and how they all come together and how you can use that to create that gradient still and not use just a clipper fading system. So once I finish up these sides, I'm going to be throwing in just a touch of the matte texture powder, just so I can get a little bit of lift, and then I'm going to be doing my refinement. So the reason I want that lift and that grit is because I want to be able, when I'm going into texturize, I want to be able to lift his hair up really high. So I can really see where I can debulk to get that lift. I'm just working my way up, blending the line out. Again, I'm really sorry about the technical difficulties. So I'm so sorry I haven't been able to get to any questions. I don't know why my audio cut out when I reconnected. I don't know why that would happen, but I am so sorry about that. And I will reply to the questions after the stream and hope to be able to get to all of you. And now I'm just working up again into the baseline. I'm working with my half guard, half open, and going right up into the bottom of that baseline. All right, go back in with my clipper over comb. And then I'm sort of I'm actually anchoring my comb to the head so I can maintain length as I'm going up into the baseline, so I'm not cutting my baseline off. There we have the fade beginning. I'm going to also taper off his neckline. I find all haircuts, even fades, short, long haircuts, unless it's actually meant to be a longer gentleman's cut and where there's actually length going off of the, like touching the collar, a tapered hairline is the most flattering, not only for the elongation of the head and like the good that it does for our head shapes and the way our eyes move, rather than creating a horizontal line and blocking the head off. It also has the best grow out. So when you have clients say, oh, I want a natural hairline or whatever grows out the best, a natural hairline really is a tapered hairline because then it'll grow out the most natural. So even with this, I am going to taper him down to fully closed. I'm also now going to hit it with the trimmers. So I'm just going in, and I prefer to keep, especially on straight-haired clients, I prefer to keep this front hairline as natural as possible. I find really lining up the front hairline is only ideal for those with tighter, coily hair patterns. For some straighter haired people, you can get away with it, but you get this line and this like shadow that grows so quickly that it just doesn't have an ideal grow out. And then it creates these short hairs at the front hairline, but to each their own. I can see that this client has gotten it done in the past, but I want to keep it natural, especially because we're going for a more textured and natural look. We're not going for a super ultra military or clean cut in the front or on the top as well. We do want a little bit of that jaggedness. So I think it's going to work in this case as well. But I say always refer to what your clients want you to do. I'm not the type of person that'll tell my clients, oh, if you want me to cut your hair, you have to have this. I try to always, give people what they want. You're there to give people advice, but you don't steamroll your clients into doing things they don't want. So we're still having lots of lift through here. And now I'm going to go in and sort of like I'm refining a flat top, I'm going to go in with my comb and I'm going to be texturizing this way. So I'm going to be holding it up at a fully elevated, straight up, and cutting that. But first, so I can help me navigate through the hair a little bit and get some extra lift, is the matte texture powder. A little bit goes a long way with this, and especially if I want to be able to continue to comb through the hair. So I'm just going to do the lightest dusting because we are still going to be styling him out with some clay matte pomade after this. So I'm just sort of roughing that into the hair. And this also helps absorb any oils. Same thing with the clay spray and with the clay matte pomade. The kaolin helps, well, actually, it literally absorbs oil and moisture and keeps it dry throughout the entire day. So your pomade, the clay matte pomade, won't get greasy at all, but will also keep your head from getting greasy as well. So I have this up. It's gonna be I can kind of see where I want to see lift. I'm kind of just running my fingers through it, pulling the comb through. Going from the back of the head, because I'm basically just doing the same combing technique to texturize the top for this undercut as I would for a flat top. So I'm kind of using my scissors, my closed shears, to brace it into the comb. And then once I do that, then I'm going to kind of do the knuckle busting that the Bloody Butcher loves. So you kind of run your fingers through, kind of feel where the hair is, kind of almost lift it up. And I really love using my blending shears at a point cut. So I'm getting the two techniques mixing together. I'm putting short hairs next to long hairs, which is going to help give a really nice lift internally. Just sort of checking. And then with the texturizing, you want to get all the little hairs off, all the little hairs that fall back into the head. And now I'm going to go in and put in some clay. I find next to the Extreme Hold Matte Pomade, the clay matte pomade is my best seller. So I'm using about just one knuckle, and I'm putting it all through my hands. And really, ideally, I want to put it on my hands to where you can't see it. You don't want to be able to see any white or any little chunks. Sometimes you'll see like a little white chunk of pomade. You want to really evenly distribute it in your hands so you can evenly distribute it through the hair. So I'm just kind of roughing him up, because I want to get as close to the actual base of the hair, the roots, as possible, because I'm looking to use this for lift. So I'm first going in, and I'm literally going against the way he would style it, because I'm going to pull everything back, but I'm combing it in this way, so I'm already creating that foundation right at the base. I'm just kind of giving everything a little bit of texture. We have our nice square shape built up on the sides. And I feel like it could almost use a little bit more pomade. A little bit goes a long way, but you want to make sure that you've evenly distributed it. And if you can feel little dry spots throughout, that means that there's areas that don't have it that should, because you want to kind of feel that it's all evenly through the hair. And when I mean dry spots, I mean almost like areas where you can tell that there's no pomade on it. It feels soft. It feels like there's no product there. So I'm just kind of going through where I know those spots are. I really want to get a lot of foundation to this volume through the back of his head right here. I'm adding just a little bit to the sides. And then we have our lift. And then I'm going to top it off just with a little more of the matte texture powder, because I didn't put a lot in from the beginning, and that was just to help give the hair lift and not be so soft when I was going and lifting it up to do my refining. But now I want to actually use the product. I like to sort of split the hair and just get it right towards the base so it can really have maximum effect. Because we already have that clay spray working in here. We already have the clay matte pomade that's giving us the ability to style it and move it around. And then we want this to really give us that gritty texture and remove that last little bit of any shine that's on this hair. So even though his hair is on the straighter side, you can really get the waves with the way that you blow dry. So, all right, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments, because I can't actually hear, which is wildly unfortunate, but I will answer all of the questions that were asked in the comments after this video is done. So if you guys have any parting questions that I can answer, like I said, I'll be able to do that after the video has ended. But yeah, I just really love the clay matte pomade, the clay spray. Our entire clay line really is, I find it works for people who are used to salon products, and also guys who are used to pomades but want to give the matte a try. It really works ingeniously for people of all different routines. And our whole clay matte line, with the actual kaolin being the ingredient, really is awesome. Because I find there's so many clays on the market that just call it like they're just called clays because they have a similar consistency to clay. But the fact that we have the kaolin actually in, and it serves its purpose. It's awesome the way it absorbs oils and gives that all day grease and shine control. And also it still stays pliable. It doesn't dry up. So he's able to, just run his fingers through his hair and work it throughout the day. Now I'm just going to go in and finish off. I can see in the mirror, and that's the really great thing about the mirror as your tool, because the mirror is also a tool. I can see the head flat in the mirror, which the mirror is over here. So that's what I find the best. So I'm just going to finish up the side of the fade. Well, how you guys liking this lift and this texture activation? We have so much texture. And then with the blow dry, you're able to really go in and give them the lift that they're looking for. And you want to convince your clients to blow dry their hair. Blow drying is vital. So there we have. And there we have it, folks. again. So sorry about the issue with my audio. I hope everyone maybe learned something new. This isn't the usual haircut that I do on these lives, so I figured I'd mix it up a little bit and bring in my lovely brother so he can let me use his hair like he always has throughout the years. And a thank you so much to Carrie for running this, and a congratulations to Nick on getting married. We're so happy for you, Nicholas. And yeah, I just thanks for spending this time with me, and I hope you guys learned something new, or maybe just got reacquainted with things that you already knew, and maybe got to see some products like the clay spray. Yeah, I hope you guys got something out of this, and I super appreciate it. And this will be my last live of 2022. And I look forward to doing many more with you guys in 2023. I can't believe I'm saying that already because the year is basically over. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for the opportunity to teach you guys something. Super appreciate it.
All righty, everyone. I know Katie can't hear me, so I'll say thank you for joining us this morning. And please, we'll see you next Monday. Join us again. Have a wonderful week. Take care, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna